Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Sheyi Obasi, and today I'm really excited because I have one of my colleagues with me today to talk about a very important topic. This is Peter Isesele, and he also is a YouTuber, talks about studying in Canada, and both our links will be in the description below. So please also follow Peter and also follow me, subscribe to both our channels. Today, we're going to be talking about tips for you to submit a Canada visa application amidst all the recent study visa changes that we have all heard about. From December, it has been almost back to back with the immigration minister giving one policy update after another that has made it look like studying in Canada is now more difficult than it used to be before. So, and a lot of you have had questions about how do I navigate? What do I do with all of this? So today we'll talk about how you can still come to study in Canada successfully despite all of these changes. So Peter, obviously you've seen all the changes because I've also seen
a lot. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And I have been asking some of my followers, does this affect their decision to come to Canada to study? And then the answers have been some yes, some no, some are like, no matter what they say, we're still going to come and study in Canada. Do you think that these changes will discourage a lot of people from actually coming to study in Canada?
Well, I would say yes and no at the same time. So there's been a lot of people that, especially those that had the preference of trying to bring their family, and with the removal of the spousal work permit and all that, majority of them that are applying to colleges are not able to come. So that's a bit of a challenge. And one of the things I've told my subscribers is that even though Canada is going to be approving only 1,000 study permits in a year, then just tell yourself, I'm going to be among, so don't let all of the numbers and everything discourage you. Just shoot your shot and then submit the best application possible.
Yes, so same thing I tell them, like always look at things in a positive light. They will definitely take certain students. So just be positive that you will be one of those that will be taken. So there's been quite a number of changes. Like, which of these changes do you think has had the most impact, like has been the most shocking? Is it like the increase in almost 100% or more than 100% increase in living expenses? Or is it the one about the master student or about the spousal open work permits? Which one do you think was the most shocking both to you and probably to other people out there?
I think for me, the part where the restrictions on the spousal work permit, I think that's a deal breaker. That was a deal breaker for me. I mean, in terms of the funds, that people didn't really had a lot of issues with that, because those are, they could raise money, do more businesses and get more funds, but there is just no way around you come with the spouse if you are coming for college, right? So I think for me, that has had a lot of effect, and I've seen a lot of people that have mentioned, well, for now we are kind of holding back because the plan, even though like the plan is priority, of course, is to come and study, and at the same time, also having your family with you while you are studying, which is kind of a priority as well. So I'll say it was a deal breaker. That's spousal work permit part of it. Yeah.
Yes, I can remember the day that I was watching the minister make that announcement. I actually opened my mouth. Like, what? You can't do that. They're separating families, which is something Canada is actually, they pride themselves on family unification. So it's surprising that they would do that.
Exactly.
So,
And the fact that they kind of put everybody in the loop, in terms of, they just said, when they made the announcement, they said in the coming weeks. So in the coming weeks, we're going to make changes. So everybody was like, what does in the coming weeks actually mean, right? And there were a lot of questions from people like, if my application is already in process, or if I'm already in Canada, will I be affected? So I think they took their time to really try to do all their permutations and combinations before they finally came up with the updated list of who and who can actually bring their spouse.
Okay, I don't envy the immigration minister. I always feel sorry for him when when he has to make those announcements. Like the task
I,
is really heavy on his head. It's
I
very
person, yeah, at some
it's
point,
very tough.
I just feel like maybe Sean Fraser was becoming too comfortable, and they just wanted to bring somebody that just will not look at faces, right? He can just say whatever he wants to say. And after all, I'm new in it. There's really nothing more you can say about me. So I think
Hmm.
it was tough, but I think he like he's always saying, it's the plan is to make sure the integrity of the system is preserved. That
Exactly.
underlining word has to always come in. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so before we look at what they can do in terms of applying for visa and how they can beat all of these changes, what advice do you think you will give to those students whose spouses no longer qualify for the spousal work permit? Because I think those are the people that are looking for a way around. Some people are asking, can they still do the flag polling? What can we do? Like, what can spouses of those international students do?
I mean, two options that have kind of, I'll say three options, but the third one is rather too expensive. They always see immigration as an investment. So if I say an investment, when you do an investment now, you may not get the returns, like the good returns within 1 year or even 2 years. It's going to be after 3, 4, 5 years. So even though you are not able to come right away, I've always advised people, then be very strategic in the course that you choose and kind of think of a course where or a province where getting your permanent residency is a little bit easier, So even though one person come alone and you finish a 1 year program or a 2 years program, you work for about 1 year or even less, and you apply for PR. So within 3 years plus, if you play your cards well, because it may not always go out as planned, your spouse and your children can also come, right? And another option is, they can get a visitor visa, right? And when you are in Canada as a visitor's visa, it's not illegal to get a job, right? If you can get an LMIA job, which is very tough, so don't really, it's probably like, less than 10-20%. So it's very difficult. So if you come on the visitor's visa, at least just have the visa, even though you're able to come visit your family once in a year and you can't stay. Then when you stay, just play your cards. If you have good experience and you can apply for LMIA job and you can get the job, then you can apply for work permit and stay. But it's tough.
Hmm. Okay, I wanted to ask your opinion on something because I
Yeah.
get a lot of questions. I have my own opinion. Some people are asking, at what point can their spouse apply for a work permit? So, for example, if they've come to Canada, they've decided, you know what, okay, you stay back, let me go study. Is it after they have been able to apply for their post-graduation work permit? Can their spouses apply for work permit at that point?
Well, yes, because these restrictions, they did not mention anything about not being able to bring your spouse on a post-graduation work permit. Okay, so I think that particular rule still stand that if you are working in a skilled job while on a post graduation work permit, you will still be able to bring your spouse, So, but it depends on a lot of factors, right? Because, some people may not get, the skilled job right away, a month or two after graduation may take some time. But if you are able to get that skilled job, you should still be able to bring your spouse, depending on if all of that previous condition stays. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And like you have said before, they should see immigration or this whole thing as a project or a process. So, I mean,
Exactly.
if
Yeah.
you really want to come to Canada, the fact that Canada has said your spouse can come, well, there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it
That's
is.
right.
If you
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
come, you can still come with your children, and your spouse is not going anywhere. They're still there. They will join you in a year or two or whatever, as soon as you're
Ex-
able to get that skill job with your post-graduation work permit. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
guys, just keep your chin up and keep being hopeful.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, so there are like visa application tips, yeah, that we have always dished out to people before now, when things were normal in quotes.
Yeah.
And things are a bit more competitive. It's so much more competitive. What
Yeah.
are some of the tips for someone who wants to apply for study visa or wants to apply for admission and still be successful despite all of the policy changes?
Yeah. So I think we can take it one step at a time. With admission, I would say try to think about the course that you are applying for, okay? And think about the demand for that course in Canada, because IRCC, in reviewing, your application, they also kind of think about that, because, in terms of how some of these courses will be able to fill some market demands. And especially for province like Ontario, you just can't apply for what is available in quotes. You have to apply for what is needed. Of course, you've seen some of the. I think it's only Ontario that specifically said these are the areas, that will be prioritizing. Giving the provincial attestation letters. I would say kind of focus on that. And then for all other provinces that have not specified, if you're planning to apply for admission, I would say apply really, really early. If not, you're just going to put on wait list. At the end of the day, they will tell you, oh, sorry, this space is already filled. So in terms of admission, just apply early, and then make sure, your SOP, because now you're kind of trying to get the admission in the first place, So I think the schools are also thinking of who will they give admission that will have the highest chances of getting visa approval. So make sure that you kind of convince them that you have the opportunity of getting visa approval, for admission. For those that apply for masters or PhD, I think you can just go about your normal duty, your normal plans, but just make sure you apply early, right? Because the deadlines for Canada, they really come pretty fast. Like if you're planning to apply for September 2024, in a lot of the master's program already closed, right? So you'll be thinking about January or May or even September of next year, as the case may be. Maybe we can talk about visa application on if you have more tips on in terms of the admission.
Okay, so the admission, yes, I think pretty much that's it. Apply on time, apply to the programs that are in demand, even though, like I always say, some people might not qualify for the programs that are in demand. There's actually nothing you can do about it. So if you are not in nursing or whatever, or you can't do a master's, apply for what you qualify for, but please apply on time. That's the most important thing. Apply on time, because I don't think the colleges will be waiting to see whether people are applying the other. They do on a first come, first serve basis. So
that's right.
That's the major thing. Yeah. So we can move on to the visa applications, like the tips that they need.
Yeah, this is a very, very broad thing, and we've both done a lot of videos on that, which the first thing I would advise, go and watch as many of our videos. We've talked about that. And for me, I've been kind of thinking about this, and I've really categorized or kind of grouped the main things you should focus on. And for me, I would say pay a lot of emphasis on your letter of explanation. And the second thing is that you really do a good job with your forms. Don't just throw in things anyhow. And there's a word I always like to use: justification of the source of funds, right? So, and I tell people, you are doing an application and this thing does not make sense to you. You know that this particular, it doesn't make sense, but you're thinking, well, maybe the visa officers might consider. I mean, like, these guys they've seen thousands of applications, they have decades of experience. So if they see an application, they can spot where the error is. So you have to apply logic. And I'll tell people, put yourself in the shoes of the visa officer and ask yourself, if somebody presents these things to you as it is now, is it going to be very convincing? Okay. So in terms of the letter, maybe we can start with that, in terms of some of the things that should be in your letter of explanation. I think for me, the most important part is going to be, you have to justify why you're applying for the program. And it's not just, well, I like this program and that's it. No, I like this program.
or it is in demand,
It is
or
demand.
something like that. Some people say
And
that. I've
so
seen
what?
people say that.
Yeah. So you have to tell a story with what you're
Exactly.
doing. And I tell people, don't just apply for a program and say, oh, because this is what is available now. When you're not
Exactly.
trying to write a letter of explanation, there is nothing in your profile that relates to the course you want to apply for. Don't do that, right? Well, if you made that mistake, well, the only thing you want to do is to at least, be a Shakespeare and try to tell a very good story, a
Mhm.
justifiable story, one. And then the other part is going to be, you have to tell them what do you have in what plans do you have with the course when you get back to your home country, because they may not know as it's obtainable in your home country. So you have to tell them that this is what I have to do with this course, this and that. That way you're already convincing them that if I go to study this course, then there is going to be a huge impact in my life and my community and my country. Yeah.
True, true. The SOP is like it's like the key,
Yes.
master key,
Yeah.
open the door.
Exactly.
And then when you look at some people's SOP, I'm like, man, you didn't put any work into this. Some people
Yeah.
just don't bother. Yeah. And same thing. I've also asked, there was time I was talking to someone, I said, now this thing that you have told me, think about it. Let's change our places. If you were a
Yeah.
visa officer, would you give yourself a visa? And the person
Yeah.
said no. Simple.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you are objective and you take yourself out of the picture, you can see it from another person's eyes. Just like if something is your own, you always think, I mean, that's the best thing. Yeah. So
Exactly.
um
Exactly. And
and then
another
like
illustration.
you said, proving why you are going to
Exactly.
study that
Exactly.
program.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
will it benefit you when you come back to your home country? And there are so many ways that you can show that and make it very,
Exactly.
very convincing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Go
And
ahead.
I used to tell people, think about you doing a visa application as a student and see the visa officers as a professor. Okay.
Mm.
So you don't just show anything and say, well, I don't think the professor will understand this thing. I can bypass this
Yeah.
logic. And this professor has probably read, maybe more than 1,000 essay during the course of their career. So they just know what to look out for. And if
Mm.
it doesn't make sense, even just reading like one paragraph or two paragraphs, then it's already giving false like an impression that is not that good. So your first and second paragraph has to be very, very, straight to the point and just telling that you know what you're doing.
Hmm. Hmm. So, I mean, these are normal things that we have been saying before. Like Peter said, our videos are there where we talked at length. I know Peter has videos, I do. We talked at length about how to structure a visa application for approval. It is so serious, guys. You
Yeah.
don't want to go through the process of getting admission, getting money for proof of funds, and then you now mess it up at the visa application point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what did you gain? So you have
Yeah.
to take this as a project until you get to Canada. You have to
Yeah.
chase it like that. So, I mean, I don't know, guys, if you have any questions. I know a lot of you have certain challenges. If you have particular comments or you have particular challenges, you can leave them in the comments. We're going to get back to you. So, Peter, so I think we're rounding up. So if there's any
Yeah.
last words that you have for our viewers, just let them know.
I mean, for the finances, I think that's a very huge part, and
Hmm.
like watch a lot of videos and just couple of points, especially if there is anything, maybe huge sum in your account, just try to explain where that is coming from and you know give them some context, okay? And then don't just, I've seen people just submitting bank statement and they don't show where the funds in their accounts are coming from, right? and and then for you can't say you have a business and let's say you are earning an approximate, let's just say 500, let's say $1,000 per year, an estimate, and then you're showing a statement of account with like $50,000 and you are saying, oh, this is your savings, and you just started this job like 2 years ago. How did you save that much amount within a short time? So they think about all of those things, and it just has to make a lot of sense to them. I also mentioned to people, if you're using your, let's say, your uncle and your aunt to act as a sponsor, don't just say this person's my uncle and then because of that they are sponsoring me. So they always need a proof of
Exactly.
relationship with your uncle, right? And I know people do affidavit. Yeah, affidavit, it's okay, but for the most part, the best things you can do, if you have maybe birth certificate or attestation of your uncle and that of your dad, then it can show that both of them have the same parents, right? And then if you have, maybe previous support your uncle has rendered to you, you can also include some of those things as well. And then just make sure you don't submit blurry documents. I've seen cases where people
Mm,
just compress, and people have been rejected because if
exactly.
yeah, if one page or two, if they're blurry, they're going to say, well, maybe you're trying to hide something from us, so we don't trust the credibility of the application, right? So just learn all of these things, and then when you one last thing before I let you continue. I've seen cases where people show like maybe 6 months bank statement, and they are having an opening balance of like say like $40,000, and then in the next 4 to 5 months the money remains the same. Like, so the question is going to be, how did you accumulate all of this huge sum? And Canada don't care that this money has been in your account for 10 years. You have to
Yeah.
tell them where the money came from, right? So those are just some
Hmm.
tips. I think if you follow those, I think you should have some edge in your application.
Yes. So you have to see it as if you're appearing before a judge. Yeah, you have to prove
Exactly.
your case beyond reasonable doubt.
Exactly. Yeah,
And also
exactly.
for visa application, I think it is also important to apply on time because the visa
Exactly.
officers are approving as they go. Yeah. So if they
Okay.
have like
Yeah.
1,000 and by the time they get to 1,000, I guess they stop. So they're approving as they go. So it's always best to do it on time. Be among the first. In fact,
Exactly.
that on time is good, is best for admission. You also need to use it for the visa application as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So it's,
even
it's almost very simple. It's not
yeah.
rocket science. It's just
No.
common sense and following the requirements and all of these instructions that we're given as well.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention is that when you're doing your application, just kind of like I said, see it as a project, okay? And if you apply on time, one of the advantages that if peradventure your application will get denied, then you'll have time to
Fine, yeah.
reapply before the start date. So that's also the advantage of applying on time, and they don't
Yeah.
rush things. I've heard people saying, "Oh, I want to apply tomorrow," and they've not even started anything.
Oh
So
my
don't rush
God.
it. Take your time.
It's
Take
like
your
we hear
time
all
to.
sorts of things in this.
The,
People are just, it's
the,
just so funny. I want to be in
the,
Canada by, they say I want to be in Canada by June. Like,
exactly.
are you the
Exactly.
minister?
Yeah.
So they
Take your
don't
time. Yeah.
understand that there's all of these things that are involved in going through the
Yeah.
process. And do you know sadly that there are agents that tell them it is possible. You see, that's why
Yeah.
sometimes when you're telling them the truth, they don't believe because they're like,
Yeah.
one agent told me they can do it. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, okay, go
Exactly.
to them. Tell them to
Okay.
do it
Yeah.
for you.
I've seen like I'll probably say hundreds of email. People like, oh, I use this agent, and then and at the end of the day, it did not work. Can you help me? I was like, but you've watched my video all this while, and you still went to meet, and this is something you could have been able to do yourself. And I if you like, I'm using an agent is a very risky process. I don't know if you heard of a story recently about a Ghanaian that came to the embassy, and what happened? This person, they were asking this person, "Are you married?" The person said no. They asked more than 4 times, "Are you married?" The person said no, and they told the person is lying, that in his application he actually feel that he's married and he has a child, and the person did not know because probably he's an agent that filled any information thinking if I say I have a child or I'm married, it's going to give me more edge. So that person, they didn't give that person study permits, right? So don't. And if you want to use an agent, yeah, I mean, you know try to work with you know, a licensed immigration consultant if possible, you know, so that you know that you are not, whatever you're doing is according to the law. I'm not a licensed immigration consultant, so I can only tell you, explain to you what is available on the IRC website. Then it's left for you to do more research, and then, you know, make sure you're doing it correctly.
That's great. And for guys that are watching, I hope that you're actually listening, taking notes, and that you go ahead and follow these requirements and instructions that we're giving you. We have seen a lot. Like, I've seen a lot. I know Peter has seen a lot. We've gone through so many people, listened to so many, I listen to people every day. So I know the challenges that you're having, and this is how you can actually overcome these challenges despite all of these policy changes. And we pray that there will be no more of this harsh, in quotes, policy changes in the near future. Yeah. And that things will flow smoothly from now till whenever. Yeah. Guys, and if you haven't liked the video, please like the video, share it with your friends. You know, you have a lot of people who also need this information. Share it and leave a comment. That's how YouTube will show it to a lot more people. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Peter's YouTube channel and also to mine. Follow us for more information and news about studying in Canada, working in Canada, and becoming a Canada permanent resident. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Bye.
All right. See you guys soon.